very much. Umhlanga Redance, it's one and some amongst the many other so-called cultural events that are organized by the monarchy in Swaziland. I will illustrate that it is an old Ngoni tradition that women or young girls could be assembled, but preserving their status, and then speaking more about the education of women and how women should grow and how they should be actually nurtured. But under the current system, it is a tool of oppression, and it is also a tool of subjugation and exploitation of women. In what sense? In the sense that this kind of an event is actually organized to make sure that it portrays the monarchy as part and parcel of the identity of the Swazi people. Yet, in actual fact, the monarchy as an absolute monarch is a political system that has historically imposed its authority over the Swazi people. And the women of our country, like the young girls, are then mobilized and paraded in front of the monarchy and also the friends of the monarchy. The purpose of doing so is actually to reach and achieve a tranquility on the status of men in society, in the Swazi society under the monarchy, that they see women and value women as objects for their own evaluation. The women, the young girls are being paraded and they are defined on strict code of dress code so that they are actually exposed to be what they are for the purposes of those who are in charge of the state could, as part and parcel of their gift, could actually identify whom they think they can be their objects or they can be their sexual objects for their future enjoyment as part and parcel of the state. So it is one another an event, a gathering that is assembled by the royal family to parade and demonstrate that it has got authority over the Swazi people. And that's why the movement in the country rejects that, because first and foremost, it is labor that is being mobilized. These young girls do not just simply go and dance. They coordinate ready dance, which is part and parcel of an instrument of decoration for the royal households. They must collect it at free labor, for that matter, at free labor. And then as it is done, they are actually used and made to be subjected, that they must think that they are part and parcel of what the culture should have been. So being a culture meaning, therefore, that they should be the most obedient people to the monarch. So the culture in Swaziland is about obedience to the monarchy. Not to forget that this is a system that doesn't actually enjoy any support from the people, but it imposes itself to the people. And therefore, any true culture will mean the people should freely participate and they fully assimilate their own abilities. But in this case, they are being hoodwinked and they're being subjected to this kind of a phenomenon whereby they must never think of anything about themselves, but they should, about themselves meaning about their education, about their livelihood, and about how the country actually has for them in future. But they must then think that their only existence is to actually to serve the monarchy. And that's why it is a part and parcel of the tool of operation. That's how the Communist Party and the movement in the country actually explains this kind of a phenomenon. And that's why we object and then call upon the people of Swaziland to reject this, and the world also to recognize that this is actually an uncalled for and it is not worth to be recognized. As an absolute monarchy, from 1973, they promulgated the constitution that has allowed political parties to also to be part and parcel of the political system. And then it rendered all power, the 1973 decree rendered all power to the monarchy. That is why from 1973, there's been an absolute monarchy. And for all the years until 2005, there was no constitution. The king himself is the master of all laws in the country. And even after 2005, the new constitution also didn't change anything. But instead, it started actually to connect and patch the monarchy in the modern world system. But it never changed anything. There's an absolute monarchy that controls the land. All the land in the country is under the absolute monarchy. All natural resources in the country are under the absolute monarchy. They control even the entire wealth of the country in the basis that they have also established an economic facility that makes sure that they can, in any case, any business that is running in the country, any economic activity in the country through TBO fund, they must make sure that they have full control of the resources. And all those assets are exclusively under the monarchy and controlled by the monarch with no any purpose of any people to say anything about that. So they willy-nilly allocate the resources of the wealth in the country. Mind you, this wealth doesn't come from nothing. It comes from the labor of the people who actually are underpaid, and sometimes some of them, even their pension is stolen by the monarchy. So it's a system that ruthlessly imposes itself over the life of our people, influencing them and pushing them to massive poverty, but at the same time, expecting the same people to praise this same institution. It's a complicated endeavor, which we would then think, why are the people not breaking the ranks from it? But at the same time, it is supported by imperialism. It is supported by those who benefit from the wealth of the country, those who think Swaziland has a geopolitical proximity for their own interests. They then feel that such a system should be kept in place and running. And its own habits of lifestyle is the corruption and the complete suffocating of the economy to the monarchy and pressing the majority of the people into poverty. And worst of all, it makes the people to have got no say in the state affairs of the country, even in the affairs of the people themselves. That is why it is running a pseudo government where the monarch has got control of everything. For purposes of illustrating, what is supposed to be the House of the Parliament, the people who participate in Parliament are vetted by the chiefs in the chiefdoms. There are about 365 plus chiefdoms all over the country. These are the basis of the constituencies in the country. And they are all controlled by the chief, which is an extension of the monarch. The chiefs are appointed by the monarchy, and they act on behalf of the monarchy on the ground to make sure that the people are kept checked by the monarchy institution for the purposes of whatever they want to do, extracting of labor, but actually pushing the people away from economic livelihood. Those people are elected through the vetting process because the first condition of you to be there, you must have shown allegiance, paying allegiance to the monarchy. And the identity is actually to be part and parcel of the royal regiments. The condition of the royal regiment, which is Kubutega, means therefore that you must have played your whole life and your whole everything to the monarchy, to a point that you can surrender your children, surrender anything for the monarchy for the purpose of livelihood. So these are the whole people who gang around the monarchy. They've made that pledge and they're isolated from the people to do that kind of purposes. And once they are in the parliament, the puppet government actually has got no purposes. It only can discuss nothing against the monarch, can discuss anything that reflects to the interests of the monarch. So it's a blend of a political system that serves the monarchy without the people. And then there's also the upper house of Senate, where there are about 30 members. Out of the 30 members, they are elected, they're appointed by the king. So any legislation of transformation that can change will be vetted and be decided by this House of Senate. And that House of Senate will make sure that there's no purpose of anything that is against the monarchy or that is actually contrary to the monarchy interest can pass as a law of the country. And or he appoints the judges, he runs the security. Everything is in control of the monarch. He runs the government, he appoints the prime minister, and the prime minister work and act on the instruction of the monarch. So this is the kind of system that has actually, through its own existence, it has pushed our people to the condition where they are. Swaziland is amongst the poorest people in the world. Over 70% of the population lives below poverty line. And of this majority, about 80% of them live on food aid. Their food is being donated. On the other side, the monarch is among the richest monarchs in Africa. I think the top richest monarch, owning about 2 jets, private jets on his own, and running about over 15 palaces. Most of all, they also have got investment outside the country for themselves and for the monarch. Some of the assets are being held in the royal house in Britain for the royal family. So all those are the conditions at which the monarch can actually control and run itself. It's a system whose purpose is to make sure that the wealth and resources of the country are controlled by the monarchy, and the people of the country are either isolated or they work as slaves and paraded as pawns to the monarchy for the world actually to accept that there's a system of unique in culture whereby subjugated population of the country. And that's why you will find that HIV/AIDS is massive in our country. In what way? In the sense that the role of women, they've got independent, they are not dependent. They are subjected to the conditions of how the monarch is. They must be loyal to the manhood lifestyle. So that is why you can see this magnitude of lead. Apart that AIDS can be treated, in Swaziland there is no treatment because it is a cause. Unless the monarchy can have the proximity to control those medication, it can therefore find space. That's why hospitals in Swaziland are actually dry and out of basic medication, even bandages and Panadols, they are not there. But the monarchy runs its own private hospitals that is well furnished and they have got anything about itself. So it's a monarchy that does everything for the people. And it also makes education extremely expensive to impoverish the people. People are forced to pay high education fees to make sure that they keep in poverty. And as William said, all human activity, every labor power of the people on the ground must translate into the accumulation of wealth to the monarchy. That's why even today, women are mobilized to go and cut grass from the field so that they can present that grass to the monarchy. Once this grass is for thatching, it is actually a product in one or another that we think, and in our own communities, rural communities, people do that to make their livelihood. But they are told that because they've got no control over the land, the grass is growing in the land. So the owner of the land will demand that grass. And the people, through forced labor, must cut the grass and present it to the monarch at their own cost. So I think that is the kind of the situation. That is how the monarch is. That's why our population for over 30 years has not been growing. People, even though they are live births, but the population cannot grow. The reason is actually not because of immigration. The reason is that people die of very much serious frustration. It's either stress-related death or also it is diseases, curable diseases. And in the main, it is because the system completely neglects the people. And as we see the situation now, the monarchy sees the people as useless and now think that it can gamble over the land. That's why it's massive evictions and people are taking over land from other countries that are coming there to buy the Swaziland so that the monarchy can use every asset of the country for its own accumulation. So I think that is a system that is a dynasty. It's a system that must not be emulated. It doesn't preserve the culture and it's got no purpose of livelihood. That is why there is a movement in the party like ours and the movement in the country that is struggling to make sure that things are changed, like our country gets independent, but they're struggling also get into major complications because their interests that are existing from foreign forces within Swaziland are also growing in the same way that our population are growing, the interests of our people grow for their freedom. So we are competing over what our country should provide. Our country must provide what is good for the people of the country. But the monarchy actually says the country must progress and move on to provide whoever have a hand to support the growth of the monarchy and whoever want to ensure that there is much extraction of the wealth in the country. And that is the context of the patterns of lifestyle. And who will win at the end? We believe that even it can take long, but our people must eventually win because we are in the course of history, we are on the right side of how things should be done in the country. Swaziland must be free, must enjoy a freedom whereby women and every individual society should actually take the destiny of their own lives. I think that is the purpose and the pattern at which there is a cause of struggle that should be waged ruthlessly as it demands because the system becomes each and every moment very aggressive and very intolerant to any dissent, and it is putting people into prisons and it is actually killing people who start to challenge the system. But that does not mean that there can be no solution. Solution must be forged in even the complicated situation as it is. We demand for the abolishment of the monarchy and the setting up of a proper democracy in Swaziland, where the people of the country will have the right to determine their own destination. We want an end of every form of cultural manipulation in the country, and that can be done only when the people have achieved and win their freedom. I think that is the key point of the determination, and we call upon solidarity and support from the people of the world who actually appreciate and support the cause of the people, who feel and think that the people of Swaziland also have got a right. That's part of the land of the world also deserve actually to make a meaningful contribution. We believe, therefore, that the current situation in the country, our country is misrepresented in the world, and our people are misrepresented in society in general. So there's a need for a proper government, for a proper system. And that can be done only when we have overturned the monarchy and abolishing it and put in place a pervasive democracy that will make our people to define and guide their way forward and reserve and change and turn around almost all these miseries of our people and turn our country to be a fortune of life for our population.